The International Space Station has been rightly described as one of humanity's best inventions. However, that doesn't prevent the massive structure from being the subject of controversies. One of them is that it's often visited by unidentified flying objects. Why would UFOs visit the ISS? Is something ominous about to happen? And why the cover-up by the authorities? Join us as we deep dive into how NASA has just detected something massive docked on the International Space Station. The International Space Station, ISS, is like a huge home in space that goes around the Earth. Astronauts and cosmonauts live there, and it's also a special place for doing science experiments. Many countries work together to build and run it. Astronauts put it together while they were already up there in space. It floats about 250 miles above the Earth and moves really fast, 17,500 miles per hour. That's why it zooms around the Earth every 90 minutes. NASA is using the space station to figure out how people can live and work in space. They want to go even farther into space than they ever have before. The space station is big. It's as roomy as 2 Boeing 747 airplanes or a 5-bedroom house. It can fit a crew of 6 people plus some visitors. If you brought it back to Earth, it would weigh almost 1 million pounds. The space station is as big as a football field, counting the end zones. The space station has labs from the United States, Russia, Japan, and Europe. Besides labs, it has other parts where astronauts do their scientific research. The Russian modules were the first ones and had everything needed to make the space station work. They also had rooms for the crew to live in. Nodes are like connectors between different parts of the station. Solar arrays stick out from the sides of the space station and collect energy from the sun to make electricity. A long truss holds the arrays and has radiators to control the station's temperature. Outside the space station, there are robotic arms that help build it. These arms can also move astronauts when they go outside for spacewalks or to do scientific experiments. Spacewalks happen through airlocks that open to the outside, and other spacecraft can connect to the station through docking ports. Ports are where crews and visitors arrive, and recently, strange things have been happening at the ISS. The ports have welcomed something mysterious other than new crews and visitors. However, another thing that people are interested in on the ISS is the cameras. The ISS has 4 cameras that let people see what's happening around the space station. In April 2014, as part of the CR3 mission, SpaceX sent 4 high-definition video cameras, called HDV, High-Definition Earth View cameras, to the International Space Station. These cameras were put inside a protective box on the Columbus lab, the European Space Agency's big chrome module added to the space station in 2008. These 4 cameras are known together as the Columbus Eye. The University of Bonn in Germany runs a live streaming website. The Columbus Eye program was made with the German Space Agency. 1 camera faces forward, 1 faces backward, 1 faces the wake, and 1 faces downward. They are connected to the space station's computer with an Ethernet cable and send images down to Earth. Interestingly, these cameras do more than just show images to people on Earth. NASA uses them to check how much cosmic radiation affects the images and how strong the camera housing is in space. In the International Space Station, ISS, there are 4 special cameras called the Columbus Eye. These cameras are like the eyes of the ISS, and they can show people on Earth what's happening in space. They were sent up to the ISS by SpaceX in 2014 as part of a mission. These cameras are not just for fun. They help scientists at NASA learn about space. The cameras are kept safe inside a box that protects them from the pressure and temperature in space. NASA uses these cameras to see how well they work in space, and this helps them choose better cameras for future missions. But some people think that NASA turns off these cameras on purpose when something strange is happening in space. They believe NASA is hiding something from the public. One example is a video where an object is seen entering Earth's atmosphere. People who watch these videos, called UFO enthusiasts, think that NASA stops the live broadcast when something mysterious appears. This makes people more curious about UFOs, or unidentified flying objects. Even if NASA tries to keep some things secret, it seems to make more people interested in space mysteries. There's a person who watches NASA's live stream regularly and claims to have seen 10 UFOs around the ISS. He goes by the name Jeff and shares a screenshot of what he saw. This screenshot became very popular on the internet, getting hundreds of thousands of views. This incident reminds us of the famous Mantell incident that played a big role in UFO discussions for a long time. It also seemed like there was an official cover-up. Back then, it was easier to control the flow of information. Let's go back to 1948 when strange reports about a UFO were reaching Godman Air Force Base in Kentucky from nearby Fort Knox. Sergeant Quinton Blackwell, who operated the Godman control tower, was the first to spot the object. He described it as resembling an ice cream cone with a red top. The tower crew alerted Captain Gary Carter, the operations officer, who then contacted the commanding officer Colonel Guy Hicks. At that time, 4 F-51D fighter jets were on their way from Marietta AFB to Standerford AFB. The Godman Tower requested Captain Mantell, with his experience of 2867 flying hours, to check out the object. Mantell, along with 2 other Mustangs, agreed to investigate while the 4th continued to Standerford due to low fuel. As Mantell climbed to 14,000 feet, he reported, "The object is directly ahead of me and above me now, moving at about half my speed." 2 Mustangs had to abandon the chase due to low oxygen levels. However, Mantell persisted. An hour later, he described the object as possibly metallic, enormous, and above him. He said, "I'm attempting to close for a better look." Unfortunately, further messages were unclear, and contact was lost. The Godman Tower also lost sight of the UFO. This marked the last communication with Mantell, and any additional information he could have provided about the UFO is now lost forever. Several attempts have been made to make sense of the Mantell incident. Some people suggested that what Captain Mantell saw was actually the planet Venus. Although Venus is sometimes mistaken for a UFO, it doesn't seem likely in this case. Another idea was that the mysterious object could be a weather balloon, but given Mantell's detailed description, it seems too small for a typical weather balloon. Moreover, Mantell, being an experienced pilot, would probably recognize a planet or a weather balloon when he saw one. Another explanation floated was that the object might be a sundog, an optical illusion caused by sunlight reflecting off ice crystals high in the sky. Sundogs can look like large, bright objects. However, this theory doesn't hold up because the object was observed from various directions, and a sundog relies on specific positions of the viewer, ice, and the sun. Despite these attempts to explain the incident, it attracted enough attention to prompt official involvement. This led to the creation of Project Blue Book. In response to numerous UFO sightings during the Cold War era, the Air Force established Project Blue Book in 1952. The primary goal was to convince the public that these flying objects could be explained. The project aimed to debunk or dismiss as many UFO reports as possible. Its purpose was to prevent potential panic and protect the public from what could be a genuine national security concern, an unexplained technological phenomenon that wasn't Russian, but posed an incomprehensible potential threat beyond human control. In the background, the people in charge were facing a serious fact. UFO encounters that have been well documented involved many trained observers, radar data, photos, ground marks, and effects on airplanes. This made it hard to just say UFOs were not important or just nonsense. What happened with Project Blue Book? Major General John Samford, the Air Force Director of Intelligence, said they looked at 1,000 to 2,000 reports, and most of them were explained. But he admitted, "Some reports were made by credible observers of things that are hard to believe. We are trying to figure out this group of observations." So, even if they didn't have all the answers, they did make progress. Even skeptic Allen Hynek, an astronomer, changed his mind and believed in UFOs. He thought there was a real phenomenon that needed scientific study. Hynek pointed out that many of the closed cases in the Blue Book had weird and sometimes frustrating explanations, some even given by Hynek himself. It looks like we are getting closer to knowing the real story about UFOs from official sources. NASA, the same old NASA, has set up a special group to check out what the government calls unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. The group has 16 experts from different fields, and they will only look at information that is not secret. They will spend 9 months figuring out the best way to study sightings before suggesting how NASA should look at UAP data in the future. The first report is set to come out in the middle of 2023, but NASA is not the only group checking out UFOs or UAPs. The Pentagon, a part of the government, is also looking into UAPs reported by military pilots and checked by US defense and intelligence officials. Let us know your thoughts on UFOs in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates.